This is After School Empire, the podcast that helps teachers like you make extra money by launching and growing their own income-generating side hustles. My name is Tony Neely. I'm a veteran teacher and a lifelong serial side hustler. Through one-on-one coaching and leading school-wide professional development workshops, I've helped many teachers launch their side hustles. And now, it's your turn. So grab a notebook and your favorite pen, because today is the day we start building your After School Empire. I'm going to be really honest with you. I am not a fan of social media. Probably because I spend way too much time doom scrolling and I lose valuable time I could be spending with my family or working on my side hustles. I'm just not a fan. Some people love it. I'm not one of them. However, as a side hustler and as an entrepreneur, as a podcaster, I have to reach potential clients where they are, which in 2024 is on social media. Lots of people are really good at being consumers of social media, spending hours and hours a day on there. However, let's call a spade a spade. They're not really great at producing actual content. On my other podcast, the Book Your Band podcast, I had the opportunity to speak with Drew Small of Bird Dog. Drew is a marketing consultant who primarily works with the music industry, but he's an absolute content marketing guru. This dude knows social media like the back of his hand. So with Drew's permission, I reused some of the content from our discussion from my other podcasts to share with you here, because I think the insights that he has about the role of social media and how entrepreneurs should be using it, and the do's and don'ts of building your following online, are so invaluable to teacher hustlers. So as you're listening, it's important to consider that the original context of our discussion was talking about musicians. But anytime that he talks about music stuff, just think about your own side hustle. Think about your own business. With that, let's hear what Drew has to say about the first thing people should do when trying to expand their reach online.
The first thing is to just start learning and to be a student of social media. And so like one of the first things we do with all of our strategy clients is we give them like weekly homework. Like you should be spending time every week going on to social media and looking for other bands, not just in the genre that you're going to be in, but in any genre. What are other artists doing with social media that you like, that resonates with you, that you think you would be able to also do similar to? Really spend time studying how this thing works, because it changes daily almost. And I think some people that's really stressful. For me, that's my favorite part, is that this is a Rubik's Cube that's constantly unsolving itself. And so before you start reaching out to a marketing agency and doing that, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, what are some other bands that you want to be similar to? And then also, while all that's happening, really start thinking about like, okay, you want to grow an audience, but what does that really mean? Can you define that really specifically? Because I think we have artists come to us a lot and we'll say, well, how can I help you? What's the problem? Where are you headed? And how can I help you get from wherever you are now to either all the way there or closer towards it? And a lot of artists are just like, well, I want to blow up. I want my songs be huge. And that's not a specific, definable, measurable goal. And so
I want to be awesome and be rich.
Yeah. And it's
Make
like,
it so.
We all do. And if you just want to be awesome, you probably already are. But like when you really stop and think, like, especially if you're younger, like one of the things I wish someone would have told me when I was younger as a musician is like, it's okay to like figure out how much money you want to make a year and then figure out how to build a business that will earn that much money for you. And it may take you 3 or 4 years to build that business, but a lot of musicians don't even have a monetary goal with how much they want to earn. And that can be a really big inhibitor to growth, because you're just out there and it's like going to watch a bunch of 4-year-olds play soccer where it's super cute, but they're just running up and down all the field all day and no one knows if they scored a goal, but they hopefully had a good time while they were there.
Let's set some benchmarks. That way it's measurable along the way, rather than just saying, I want to be awesome, I want to get rich. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And so I like that idea of going ahead and setting those monetary goals early on.
I think the more I deal with successful artists or successful business owners, the more I run into this mindset of like, there's no failure. There's no way to screw this up. The only way we screw this up is if we don't do anything at all.
As our conversation continued, we shifted gears to talking about practical steps toward building an online following. The foundation, Drew suggests, is remembering that social media is inherently a social place. It's not a commercial, it's not an ad. It's a proverbial room to be worked where your comments and posts essentially serve as a virtual business card.
Most artists are going to break their way into the world through social media, and it is an inherently social place. And most musicians only post on their social media and maybe interact with their friends, and then wonder why no one cares about their content. And the reality is that you've got to go out there and be friends with other people online and comment on other artists, on other creators, on other comedians, on other brands, on other content, and spend time just interacting with, like, back in the day, you had to do something called work the room, right? Where when you would go to a gig, you would have to like smile and shake hands and be nice to every single person in the room. And we don't do that as modern musicians because we're not in the room very often, except for Instagram or TikTok or whatever your platform of choice is. That's the room now. And so with our social media strategy clients, we're giving them daily, like, you have a job of about 30 to 60 minutes a day where your marketing job, and it's not all at once, it's 5 minutes here, it's 10 minutes there, is to literally go out and comment and interact with other people on the internet outside of your own ecosystem. And that will then, they're having a meaningful social interaction with you online, and it's piquing their curiosity, and they're coming in and they're seeing your content. And because they feel like they've been seen by you and they're connected to you because you are seeing them and connecting with them, they start to care about your content. And it's not something that you have to do forever and ever and ever, but like, you know, this year, over the last year and a half, I should say, we helped one of our clients go from literally, they had 700 Instagram followers when we started, to they're at 853,000 today. That's from June of 22 till January of 20, I guess we're in 2024. A lot of that was, there was a long period of time of like, I think that granted, they're like 17 and 18 years old, homeschool kids. They've got plenty of time. So they spent 2 or 3 or 4 hours every single day, just dropping comments everywhere they could go. And I'm not talking like emoji only comments. Like, good internet commenting is kind of like a fart. Like, if you have to force it, it's probably pretty crappy. And like, go out there and actually watch somebody else's video. Go out there and leave a comment that would be replyable to. Don't just put like, this was awesome. How's a creator going to reply to that? Thank you. That's not a conversation. I mean, go out there and watch somebody's cover and be like, I really like how you put you arranged this version. Or it was really clever of you to blend the bridge of that song with this. Or what, like, really watch the content and give it,
legitimate feedback.
Legitimate feedback and encourage. Or if like, one of the profiles that we manage is an artist that creates lo-fi music that takes the streaming revenue from that music and plants native pollinator habitats.
Okay.
And so they're all over like environmentally friendly accounts and their content. And one of the most effective growth comments for them was, there's an account called Texas Bee Works. It's this lady who like has this very calm voice, and she narrates videos of her collecting beehives from the wild. Like, people call her and go, there's a beehive in my shed. Can you come get it?
I actually think I've seen some of her stuff. Yeah.
And so all the time we have this account go in there and people will be asking comments about bees. And because this account makes music that benefits pollinators, and they basically are trying to find people who are environmentally conscious as their fan base, they'll go in there and people will ask like, well, how is she not getting stung? And then it's like, that account will just put a very helpful reply of like, well, most bees aren't very, aggressive, and they're, actually a very playful species. And you just add really interesting, it's like you're replying to other people's questions even. And that one comment, like, I want to say it's got 35 or 40,000 likes on it.
Mhm.
And it's garnered probably 3 or 4,000 followers for that brand from that one comment. And because people are like, oh, this person's really insightful, I want to know more about it. And they go through to the profile, and the profile's optimized. They can really quickly figure out like, oh, they make music for people like for pollinating, people who love plants, or what, I forget what the bio is.
So how do you walk the line between, obviously you are contributing to a community, but then how do you get them to click over to actually follow? Because I know so many Reddit threads and Facebook groups and stuff, they're anti-self-promotion. So
yeah,
you're commenting.
You just don't promote. You like, honestly, this
contribute without promoting.
You're not asking for people to come through, right? All you're doing is looking to create a meaningful interaction between you and someone else, and trusting that the natural curiosity in others will lead them down the rabbit hole. And your job is just to have a profile that is really quick. Like I would say that the most important real estate anybody has online today is their social media bio. So we need to know, in as long as it takes us to read that bio, what kind of music you make, and do people like me like things like this, right? And so if your profile is optimized for your ideal fan, and you're spending time going out there adding valuable communication and conversation to other creators' content, then when that fan gets that comment from you, they're going to come through. And it can be as simple as like, we did one the other day for a client who they make like ambient music, that part of their like fan avatar, like people who like to read books. So like we go and find authors like John Green, who wrote like A Fault in Our Stars and a bunch of other ones. And John Green's very active on social media.
And also has awesome history videos I use in my classroom.
Yes.
So shout out to John Green.
John Green is amazing. And John posted some video about tuberculosis, as one does. John Green is like, if you haven't followed John Green, he's almost always talking about how ridiculous it is that we have, like, tuberculosis is still around when we could cure it.
Yeah.
And we just had an account comment, thank you for using your platform for this. Not even all that meaningful. And that one still is like 3,000 or 4,000 likes, because people will come through and go, well, I wanted to say that, but somebody already said it. I'm not going to say the same thing twice. I'm going to like this comment. And all that does is continue to raise that comment's popularity within the way those comments are displayed by Instagram. And you're getting your brand out there more. And again, people will be naturally curious. Who is this person? Right? Not every comment you drop is going to get a ton of likes and replies and all that stuff. Not every post you make is going to be the thing that takes you to go viral. But you're out there every day dropping, like some of these, that Texas Bework comment, it took 3 minutes one day, and for months. And as that post continues to go viral, that comment continues to get served to new potential fans. And so if you're insightful about the targets that you give yourself for this engagement strategy, every day you're out there investing a little bit of time into building your brand and hoping that the algorithm, you've picked other creators that are going viral, and the algorithm is continuing to deliver your brand out there for you for $0. It's a free marketing strategy that all it requires from you is to just care about other people a little bit and to engage with them in a kind and meaningful way. You don't have to say, by the way, follow my band.
Yeah.
By the way, come to our show. You do have to say interesting things that, because ultimately your fans for your music, regardless of what genre you are, they're fans of other things than music, right? And so as people, we are tribalistic in nature, right? We want to answer this question of, do people like us like things like this? And so your job is to figure out what are the things that your people like, whether it is other bands or it's, I think a slept on one is comedians. I think a lot of people are doing like meme accounts are big, but go out there and interact with the kind of content that your ideal fans are already interacting with, and add value to those other communities, and do it in a way that, like, the way that we encourage people to do it is you favorite usually 30 to 100 accounts. And then when you log into Instagram, if you tap that Instagram icon and sort your newsfeed by favorites, now you're going to see all the posts from those accounts in chronological order, which is so helpful because otherwise it's just algorithmic newsfeed through there. So we're going to organize these posts in most recent to oldest, newest to oldest, and we're just going to scroll through them and add value to these comment sections until I reach content I've already engaged with. And then I'm done for the day. But you do that every day. Like take 30 to 60 minutes every day. And it is impossible. Like we've not seen somebody do this strategy for at least 90 days and not seen meaningful growth to their committed fan member.
Thanks so much for listening, and we're going to get right back to the episode. But did you know that your next side hustle is probably already sitting in your closet waiting for you to cash in? Shoes, baby, we're talking shoes. The demand for pre-owned shoes is astronomical right now, making it highly profitable. And honestly, it's one of the easiest side hustles to launch. I have a full course coming out soon that will teach you everything you need to know to kill it online selling pre-owned shoes. But in the meantime, I have a free Get or Forget shoe guide on my website that provides an overview of brands and styles that are selling like hotcakes right now, as well as multiple tips to help grow your knowledge of sourcing and flipping shoes online. Just go to afterschoolemempire.com/shoes to download the awesome free resource today. Thanks so much, and now back to the show.
To their audience.
So I have so many questions following up on this. Question number one, you said we should know pretty quickly after looking at your bio what kind of music you make, who it's for, who's going to like it. How do you see that most effectively being formatted? Should that be complete sentences? Should it be some kind of quip? Should it be very straight to the point, indie acoustic folk for people who love the Avett Brothers? Or like, how do you see formatting of the bio working the best right now?
All of the above. I think the frustrating thing is for a lot of people is they want a specific answer to this question. And there's just so many, there's so many different ways that you could do it. Could you do it just genre only? Sure. That's the easy way, right? You just I make, Texas indie, lo-fi, hip hop beats. Cool. Great. You could do it. What are the kind of people that you make the music for? So you could say like, I make insert genre for people who like blank, right? We made one for a guy recently, if my internet will be faster. He kind of makes two kinds of songs, love songs and songs for people who just got dumped. And so his thing is serving uppers and downers for the lovers and losers.
Okay.
Right. So it's up to you. You get to be creative, but it's your elevator pitch. We don't care. Like I don't care if you won an award. I don't care if you won a Dove Award or a Grammy Award. That's not the place to put that. Place to put that is maybe in your highlight section or something like that. But we want to know what kind of music you make and because ultimately, like, I think the best advice here is there are two things. Number one is the bio is keyword indexed. So Instagram, TikTok, these are not social media platforms the way that we think of them traditionally. Like this is not MySpace. These are search engines and they are indexing creators and accounts and content based on keywords. So use keywords in your bio that your ideal fans would probably be searching for that you could be discovered on. So he wants to, uppers and downers, lovers and losers. Those were the types of people that he wants to find him that are looking for, I'm looking for a love song. I'm looking for songs about, losing love. So he sewed that into his bio. You could just do your genre. That's obviously especially if you have a very specific genre, you can put that in there because then that's going to get indexed by Instagram. And when people search for your genre, your profile is going to be relevant to that search result and likely to be served in that, if that makes sense. So really think through these things like there's an SEO component here, but ultimately do what people like, right? Like don't work harder at trying to trick the algorithm to indexing you than you are trying to get people to understand very quickly who the heck are you? Why do I care? Am I in the right place? Right? Again, to go back to that Donald Miller thing, like they're the main character in their own story. Their prefrontal cortex, that part of their brain is just trying to save calories. And if they come across an equation they can't solve very easily, they're just going to keep swiping.
Yeah,
they're just gone. So I wouldn't say be clever. It's kind of like driving, right? Like you want to be predictable. That's really what you're trying to do when you're driving safely. When you're writing your bio, be predictable. I want to know what I'm signing up for if I hit that follow button. And so forecast that. What do you do? Who are you for? And keep in the back of your mind that this is all searchable stuff. And if you can put keywords in there, do it. But I would say the simpler the better, because people there's so much information and so much going on today that the more complicated and nuanced you get with it, the less people you're going to catch with it.
So with, this is a little bit more technical of a question, but with Instagram, because I'm just now starting to learn more about Instagram and stuff like that, can you be penalized like you are on Google ranking for basically spamming of keywords? So if you put all the keywords in your bio, can you actually be penalized for that as far as ranking goes?
Yeah, that one, there's not a ton of like hard. Instagram's pretty good about just showing their cards face up and saying whether or not you're going to be penalized. They're very, very quick to like, my advice is that it is more work to try and game the system than it is to just like
the right way,
do it the right way in the first place. You're always playing cat and mouse. The algorithm ultimately is designed to do what people like. So if you just do what people like, the algorithm is always going to love you, whether it's the content that you're posting or the way that you framed your bio. You have I think you have like 500 characters in your bio. So you are limited, but you can put hashtags in there if you want to. Hashtags are a little bit controversial right now. Some people are saying they're dead. Some people are saying
because Threads isn't even allowing you to use them, correct?
Threads just put hashtags in last week.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think like Instagram themselves have said that hashtags are being sunset. But I don't think that they're going away, and I don't think they're ever going to take them off the platform. We just have to remember the history of the hashtag. Like, I want to say 2013 was the first. They're only 10 years old. They basically were implemented because image recognition and text recognition software just wasn't good. And so these platforms are profitable by serving people content that they want to see. And when they see what they want to see, they spend more time on those platforms. And when they spend more time on those platforms can show them more ads, and then they make more money. And that's really as complicated as it needs to be. And so hashtags are there so that users were incentivized in the early days of Instagram and X, which was Twitter then, like to self-tag their content so that the platforms could better serve valuable content to the right people.
Yeah, search terms.
Yeah, and I don't think that's ever really fully going to go away. Now, Instagram is doing a good job of like reading your caption and using image recognition software and using speech to text in your videos to like think through this and hashtag it for you. But it doesn't mean that it's a perfect system. It'll be good in 5 years, right? But also we have to remember that like people use hashtags all the time, and they're going to continue to use hashtags. So I'm a fan of them. I think on Instagram, you probably only need 3. On TikTok, they really, really, really matter still.
Okay.
That they're a tremendously...
Is that just because of how young the platform is?
Yeah, and I think too, just the way they built their platform, it like when you go to your TikTok profile and you tap on any one of your videos, up in the top, there's a search bar. And if TikTok has figured out what your post is about, that search bar is going to have the keyword that you're indexed for on there. If you don't index for anything, it's just going to be like search or see more content or some generic thing there. So TikTok really just does like to see hashtags be utilized because there is some human element to it where it's like, I think they're going to, it's been a minute since I've done a deep dive on this. So I'm speaking a little bit out of turn and I'm willing to be corrected if anyone hears differently. But I think they're using a little bit of human input in there in conjunction with AI looking at the content and combing through it as well. And just assuming that AI is going to be wrong. I mean, it's confidently incorrect all the time.
Just like my 4-year-old.
Yeah. Just like every human, right? Like we are all like right now, I may be very incorrect about this, but I'm pretty sure.
You're drawing from your best understanding at the time to give an output, just like AI tends to do.
Yeah.
You're scraping your experiences. So going back to the idea of being a good follower and contributing through being a follower, you said choose 30 to 100 somewhere accounts to follow. What's your strategy for deciding who to follow? Am I following popular bands in my genre? Am I following labels? Am I following influencers who have mentioned bands that I like? Like, how do I, as an artist who's trying to build a fan base online, and you're saying, hey, it starts with getting involved and coming here, have 30 to 100. How do I decide which 30 to 100 to click to follow?
It depends. Like every answer in marketing it's going to depend. It depends on what your goals are. It depends on, like, we had a band that wrote a bunch of love songs. And so they went, and part of their outbound engagement strategy was a bunch of like all the dating apps, was Bumble and Tinder and so on and so forth. The biggest thing you want to be looking for is, number one, are those accounts posting regularly, right? Are you going to have work to do every day? If you're posting big accounts that aren't posting very often, it's not a very effective use of your time, right? The other thing is, are real people actually commenting on that stuff, or is it just bots? Right? So you want to make sure you're looking for places to engage and interact where real humans are, and people are actually watching those and commenting and doing those things. So before you figure out, should it be labels, should it be other bands, what should it be? Are they posting all the time, and are real people engaging in those comment sections? Because again, if there's no comments on there and they haven't posted in 2 weeks, you can only add 100 people to your favorites on Instagram anyways. So you don't want to fill it up with a bunch of stuff that's not posting all the time. The other thing is, like, you really need to stop and think about who your ideal fans are as people. And be honest with yourself, because nobody makes music for everybody. That's just like, there are people out there that don't like pizza and ice cream, and they're wrong, but they're out there. And so there are going to be people that don't like your music, that aren't your ideal fans. So you need to tell yourself the truth about, if you say I make music for people who are 18 to 55, like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Right. So get really specific with, like, who'd you write these songs for? And also, like, what, like, at the end of the day too, your music and your account, like, people aren't following you. They're feeling you. They're coming for that feeling they get when they interact with you. What is that feeling? And can you find other accounts that also create that same feeling? And it might be meme accounts. You pick a niche, there's meme accounts for it, right? It might be other creators that are, just active creators that you just like, right? Like, think about you're going to have to spend your time on this stuff every single day. So also think about, like, where do I want to spend my time on the internet, and try to find the Venn diagram between where you want to spend your time on the internet and where your fans might be. It might be a circle. It might be a thumbnail. But the reality is it's going to be different for every single artist. It may just be other bands. It's probably not just other bands. It's probably, like, we did a campaign and a little bit of a data study. We used a tool called SparkToro. We really like SparkToro. It's a market research tool that you can plug in social media profiles and websites and get insights and understanding about their following. And so we were doing this with basically all of the living members of Tom Petty's Heartbreakers got back together and made a band. They're called the Speaker Wars, and they're awesome.
Yeah, like I saw like Mike Campbell and those guys are touring with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so early on, as they were coming back, we're starting to figure out what their outbound engagement is going to be. And so we plugged in Tom Petty into this SparkToro thing, and it turns out all of the Tom Petty fans love Jim Gaffigan. And Jim's really active on social.
And Hot Pockets,
And Hot Pockets. And so, like, we can use SparkToro. We can look at other successful artists in your genre and kind of look at, well, what other accounts other than, low-hanging fruit? If we say Taylor Swift, what accounts are Taylor Swift's fans also interacting with? It's probably going to be Target.
Travis Kelce.
It's going to NFL memes. It's going to be Hearth and Home, Chip and Joanna Gaines. Like, we're going to start to see a pretty clear picture. And then you can go, okay, well, if I want to be on tour with Taylor Swift and they've got this massive audience, where else are her fans already hanging out? You can use a tool like SparkToro and do this. The cheap way to do this is because there's a free way to do all of this.
I was going to ask you if that's a free tool or a paid tool.
It is a free tool. You get I think you get 25 searches a month or something, and they restrict kind of how much of that data you get to see. I think it's $150 a month. We deploy it selectively. Like, I don't have an ongoing monthly membership. It's a tool that I go and turn on when I need it. Because the free way to do it is just to go to Taylor Swift's account and look at all the people that are following her and just look at their accounts. Go, become eternally curious and go look at the people that are following that account. If they've got public profiles, who are they following? What words are in their bio? When they post on their page, what are they posting about? Is it pictures of their cats and dogs? Are they posting political memes? What are they doing on their social medias? And start to study the fans of other bands. Everything you want to know is already just sitting out there in the open. You've just got to be willing to go out there and collect that information and then use it to create your best guess. Because there's no magic 8-ball. There's no crystal ball that you can look into to tell the future. We're just going to trial and error. So a lot of times with this is what we call our outbound engagement strategy. We'll do a lot of research and we'll commit to it for 90 days. And at 30-day intervals, we're just going back and going, am I giving enough, is there enough content a day for me to engage with? And it's like, okay, if yes, then let's stay the course. If no, then let's go into a new round of search and destroy. And we'll take out the ones that aren't posting enough and we'll add the new ones in that we think are. And then for another 30 days. And then we'll assess again at 30 days. And then we'll assess again at 30 days. And at the end of the 90 days, you should be in a good rhythm. But it is going to be this constant pattern of we're going to put together as much research as we can to make an educated guess. We're going to make an educated guess and we're going to stick to that plan for an uncommonly long period of time. The biggest number one advice I can give to anybody trying to figure out social media is once is not a sample size, right? You've got to do something a lot to build a sample size of data to determine whether or not it's working. And 30 days is it's a pretty small sample size, to be honest. But if you want to be aggressive in continuing to make progress, 30 days is pretty ample at the same time.
Yeah, I know for websites, they say, don't judge your SEO, your ranking strategies for 3 months to see if you're making any movement.
Yeah, there's no marketing is a lot of hard work and then being very unsure whether or not it was worth it until very suddenly. We talked Jake and Shelby, we started in January with them and it was very light coaching and here's a plan, go off and do this thing. January of 22, they started at 0 followers. January to June, they had 724 followers and 134 posts. And it took them 134 posts and 6 months to figure out what kind of what's the magic thing that they can make that they can make on a regular basis, they like to make, and that people like to see. And so then from June to August, they went to 20,000 followers, 700 to 20,000 followers. And then from August to December, they went to 500,000 on Instagram.
Wow.
Because we're in this process of like, what's working, what's not working. Let's try a bunch of everything. So when you're trying to find this outbound engagement thing, just pick, right? Do your best to pick where you think your people are hanging out online the most. And then after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, stop and assess. Have I really picked up followers from this? Am I logging into Instagram every day and having nothing else to comment on? Okay, cool. Another great way to do it is to use the Explore newsfeed. Like, I think that if you're trying to grow your band on social media, if you have a personal need to go on social media and watch memes, engage with reels, do all that stuff, great. Have a separate account. Your band page is now a business asset. And you can use the Discover newsfeed to find you other bands, other content creators, other accounts to engage with by going into that Discover newsfeed and only interacting with content that you think your ideal fans would also like to be interacting with. Because it's a machine learning platform. So it's like, if I go in there and I really like watching Domino Rally and like dog videos and stuff with my kids. We'll sit down, we watch Instagram. We want to watch like somebody who set up a massive domino thing, knock it over. That's so not helpful for me finding other creators. And so I have a separate account where my kids and I just watch goofy stuff on Instagram. And that Discover newsfeed brings me an endless supply of exactly what I want, because that is what that page is designed to do. So if you want to be finding other accounts that are creating content on a regular basis, that have engaged audiences, then go into the Discover newsfeed and look for it. And anything that is not exactly that, you tap the 3 dots in the right corner and you say, I'm not interested. And you give it positive feedback by dropping comments and interacting with stuff that aligns with your audience you're trying to attract. And you give it negative feedback by telling it not to send you stuff that doesn't do that. And after about a week or two of really like daily teaching your Discover newsfeed to go find you new stuff, it's going to start bringing you the most amazing things that you can fold into that outbound engagement strategy. And so you can use Instagram itself as the search tool, but you're going to have to train it and be disciplined to, like, if you're really into golf or you're really into woodworking, don't do that stuff on your band's profile. Do it somewhere else.
Because it's going to throw off the algorithm.
Yeah. And Instagram's, all these platforms, whether it's Spotify or Netflix or whatever, they use something called collaborative filtering. Have a great day Google searching that. There's so much to learn about collaborative filtering. They're going to look at the kind of content that you're interacting with to determine what kind of people get served the content you're posting. Right? So you have to keep that in mind, that everything you do online says something to the platform about who is going to be friends and do cool things with you. So if your bass player in the band is also your social media manager and posting all that stuff, and they're looking at, no shame to your bass player, they're looking at woodworking videos all the time on there, your band's content may just be getting served to dudes who play bass that like woodworking, which might be a total vibe, right?
The riches are in the niches. So,
Well, exactly. Yeah. But I think it's just important to be aware of that, of like what you're doing on your account, from what, if you really want to grow, then you need to use these tools like the superpowers that they are. And you need to, number one, be interacting with other people. None of this posting and ghosting stuff, and then being confused why no one found your band, right? And then the other thing is what you interact with determines who you interact with from an organic reach standpoint as well. And these can all be fixed, right? There's no, unless you've had some sort of like fake news account that gets punished for, posting misinformation by and large, if you've got an inactive account, if you've got, confusing SEO, all of this stuff can be worked out. I'm not beyond starting brand new accounts for people. Sometimes that is the best thing to do, but it's almost always the last thing that you should try. And just being intentional with who you're interacting with and how you're teaching the Discover newsfeed to bring you new content, that's going to do so much to help you get those new fans and followers in.
That's awesome. Man, Drew, I could talk to you for hours. You're so insightful. I want to value your time. Just a couple like rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Because hopefully you had a good time. We can come back and
I would like to come back is what I would like to, I'll say that now.
Cool. Because it seems like kind of the theme of this episode has been growing your following by being a follower. But I do want to just rapid fire ask you a question about the content creation side.
Yeah.
Because the last couple guests I've had and several people in the industry I've talked to have said, be very, very particular about what you're willing to put up online because it reflects your brand, and especially your early posts, make sure they're all high quality, make sure that they look great. Where you have videos on your account, I loved it. You're like pushing a cart through this grocery store, grabbing a bag of Doritos, and you're like, everything is content, everything.
It is.
So what's the reality in what you're seeing as somebody actively working in the field? Should we be very particular about what we're putting out there? Or is everything truly content that needs to see the light of day?
It depends. I would say that more things are content than people realize. And it's really important to understand that what I post to my stories, that nurtures my existing followers, right? Whatever I post to my stories, I'm not really going to get a new follower because of something I posted to my stories. I'm going to get new followers because of something I most likely post to Reels, or if I've got some sort of like informative carousel or something that's, like short form video is almost always going to be how I get new fans. That being said, we look at like Casey Neistat, who's like a very big YouTuber. Casey's really big on posting, high quality vlog videos, usually shot with DSLR. And they're honestly, if you haven't watched some of Casey's vlogs, go watch them. He's a masterful storyteller, but he got one of his first videos to get over 100 million views this last year in 23, shot on his iPhone because it was just a compelling story. And it just happened. He was just on the street and he stepped on a part of the sidewalk in New York City that fell and exposed this huge hole that was really dangerous. And it was like this viral moment. And it's like thinking that a nicer guitar is going to make you a nicer guitar player. It's just not true. Right. And so ultimately, people are really, really tired of being marketed to. And so the best marketing, the best ads, they don't feel like ads. So when people are like, I'm going to get nicer gear, I'm going to get better equipment, and we're just going to put up really, really sexy videos that are so cool, that might attract some people, but ultimately people like the tagline for my agency is let's be friends and do cool things because that is what marketing is. It is people want to be friends and they want to do cool things. So post your cool music video, right? But also I want to know, like, we kind of have a 70-20-10 rule where 70% of your content should be about your music, right? It should be this song or this mood or this video or this thing. And 20% of your content should just be about who you are as an artist, right? What's your favorite breakfast cereal? Where do you get your eggs? Whatever, just anything. And then 10% should be direct sales. Like buy my merch, stream my song, follow my playlist, check out my YouTube channel, do the thing. And if you run on a 70-20-10 rule model and you post 30 things a month, then you're going to be getting good growth over time. But for the most part, that means you're focusing on this top of funnel content where total strangers could come across a piece of content and enjoy seeing it. It doesn't, like, at the end of the day, like, cool's only cool as long as cool is cool. So if you're just trying to be cool all the time, eventually it's irrelevant. I would say shoot from the hip. Don't worry about it.
So following that 70-20-10, so 70% me performing songs or talking about songs or live videos or whatever behind the scenes, 20% random me brushing my teeth and
memes, whatever,
and
doesn't matter.
10%, hey, my new album's coming out, or I'm playing at such and such venue this weekend, tickets are on sale here. So that's how you're laying out that model?
Yeah.
Okay.
If people need a framework, right, that we found that to be really helpful. I cannot stress enough that like marketing is a lot like music theory. There are tons of rules. And if you understand what those rules are, you can break them whenever you want.
Yeah.
Right.
As Victor would say, there's no wrong notes. There's only groove and context. So
yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Drew, you are such a wealth of knowledge. You're such a cool guy. Even if you weren't on the show, I just want to talk to you more. Let's be friends and do cool things together.
I like that.
So if somebody wants to find out more about you, learn more about BirdDog, where can they find you and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm usually on Instagram at It's Drew Small, and you can check out our website. It's just brddg.co. And I am not too often around Threads as well. I'm not much of a tweeter these days, but you can find me on Threads. But usually you can just hit me up on Instagram. I'm there a lot.
Awesome. We'll be sure to link that up in the show notes as well. Drew, thank you so much. And until next time, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
For more resources and support, be sure to visit www.afterskoolempire.com and sign up for my mailing list. I promise not to spam you, and you'll be the first to know about new side hustle resources that are available from After School Empire. Until next time, remember, people want to give you money. You just have to find a reason for them to do so.